Hi, my name is Kevin Welch, and I'm a Chi Alpha campus pastor in Fairbanks, Alaska, and this is my final presentation for the Pastoral Ministry course. As I've gone through this course, I was reminded of one of the last moments that Jesus actually shares with the disciples, specifically with Peter, as they're having breakfast. We find this in John chapter 21, verse 15, where we read, "When they had finished breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, 'Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?' And he said to him, 'Yes, Lord, you know that I love you.' And Jesus said to him, 'Feed my lambs.' Again, Jesus said to him, 'Simon, son of John, do you love me?' Peter said to him, 'Yes, Lord, you know that I love you.' Jesus said to him, 'Tend my sheep.' And then Jesus said to him a third time, 'Simon, son of John, do you love me?' Peter was grieved because he had said to him a third time, 'Do you love me?' And Peter said to him, 'Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you.' And Jesus said to him, 'Feed my sheep.'" I find significance in the scripture at this time because in this, one of Jesus' final moments of encouragement and discipleship with Peter, we see him 3 times ask Peter to take care of his sheep. It's obvious that Jesus wants us to care for his sheep. That oftentimes we recognize from other moments of Jesus' teachings within the New Testament, within the Gospels, that he refers to the role of a leader as that of a shepherd. And so as I continue to think through this course of pastoral ministry, and I'm reminded of this role of being a shepherd, the natural question comes up in my mind: how do we as shepherd leaders care for and serve the church, which is ultimately his sheep, his flock? I find that we do this in 2 ways. That first, we need to consistently take care of our personal health. And here when I say personal health, I'm not only referring to our physical health. I'm speaking holistically. There are many things that we as ministers can allow to take our time and energy. And it's easy to fill our week with work, but we need to be intentional in how we take care of ourselves in the midst of the work God has asked us to do. We need to prioritize within our week how we care for our relationship with God, our relationship with our family, our personal physical health, and our ministry community we are serving and leading. And this prioritization will include proper task management, committed scheduling, and strong convictions towards Sabbath, rest, and family. If we ask the question often of what would a great leader do, as Andy Stanley was encouraging and recommending us, well, a great leader would ultimately desire to lead from a position of personal health, which takes commitment and conviction in the small things. It will take us having to build and maintain a good diet, establish a daily time set aside for you and God to become closer, knowing and communicating your family schedule and your work schedule, and also establishing healthy work habits and hedges within your ministry. And I really do believe that by staying committed to these smaller daily choices, we will have a greater effect and develop personal health that will produce better qualities and longevity in leadership. And then the second way that I see us being successful as shepherd leaders within this role that God has asked us to do is ultimately we need to accept the responsibility of being a leader. There are going to be many different seasons of ministry that we will ultimately find ourselves in. Whether we're the lead pastor of a church, a children's ministry director, a youth pastor, or administrative staff, there is something that we are being asked to lead. And in this, we need to take the responsibility of leading well with the role in which we're given. And this will ultimately first begin with leading from our character, which I was referring back to within our personal health. And secondly, it will mean that we will need to lead through our actions. That we will ultimately need to be taking responsibility for the tasks and the roles and the decisions that need to be made within the position that God has given us. And ultimately there are many things that will help develop us into great leaders in this way, like spending time clarifying our vision and mission pertaining to our leadership role, thinking through right questions to ask that will develop the culture that we're led by God to create, taking responsibility of the decisions that need to be made, the problems that need to be solved, or even enabling the right person to step onto the scene and for their own growth as a leader. That ultimately we will need to step up and become the leaders God is asking us to be. And then all of this being said, it's important to note that as a leader in ministry, we will need to always lead from a place of God's direction, which emphasizes the importance of our own personal spiritual formation with God as we continue to lead. I have this conviction within my heart that developed from very early on in ministry that ultimately says this, that if God called us, it wasn't because of our abilities. It was because of our willingness. That ultimately, God never called the able, he called the willing. And as long as we maintain a close position next to the Father, no matter our abilities, our willingness will be what he cares for most, and the abilities are what he will give us. And then I recognize that at the end of this, I know by having these two focuses within life and ministry, we will be in a great place for God to guide, direct, and utilize us within his mission to advance his kingdom throughout the whole world. I thank you so much for your time and for this course. God bless.